Hey, welcome to Life After Nursing School. I'm your host, Caroline Dana, aka Nurse Coach Caroline, and I'm here to help you, the new nurse, thrive in your career. As a former nurse recruiter, nurse manager, and now your personal new nurse career coach, I'm obsessed with making sure you don't just survive your first couple of years at the bedside. I want you to absolutely rock them. From the challenges to the triumphs, I'll be right here with you, giving you the real-world advice and support that you need to shine. Whether you're in nursing school getting ready for life after, or you're already out there in nurse life feeling overwhelmed or even questioning your confidence, I've got your back. I'll be sharing tips, tricks, resources, and strategies that are just for you. We'll dive into everything from landing that dream nursing job to slaying imposter syndrome, and most importantly, how to keep that spark alive and stay the vibrant and amazing nurse that you are. So if you're ready to tackle the things nursing school did not cover, like how to build a career, trust yourself, and keep your passion strong, then get comfortable because we are about to dive in and make nurse life the best life. Today, I am so excited to welcome someone really special to the podcast, my dear friend, Nicole Johnson. Nicole and I have been connected online for over a year now, and I was even lucky enough to be a guest on her own podcast not too long ago. It's truly amazing how this profession can connect us with people all over the world who share the same passions and values. That's honestly how I feel about Nicole. Nicole's journey after nursing school has been anything but ordinary. She's held leadership roles in her nursing career, navigated burnout with the help of a life coach, and went on to pursue training and certifications in happiness at work, mindfulness-based stress reduction, and psychological first aid. All of these experiences helped shape the incredible work she's doing today, helping nurses reconnect with themselves and with each other through her company, Unwound Retreats. Since launching in 2019, Nicole has hosted retreats across Morocco, Mexico, and California, creating safe spaces for nurses to recharge, reflect, and grow. And now with her upcoming November retreat in Sayulita, Mexico, she's blending continuing education with yoga, meditation, community, and adventure in the most intentional way. In today's conversation, we're going to talk about Nicole's own life after nursing school, how she built Unwound Retreats from the ground up, and why creating community and holding space for nurses is at the center of her mission. Plus, we'll get into what it's like to attend one of her retreats, including a unique CE opportunity and the powerful transformations that happen when nurses step away from the bedside to invest in themselves. Nicole also shares with us a discount code for her upcoming trip, so be sure to listen in and check the show notes for that. Nicole, I'm thrilled to have you here. You are such a light in our profession, and I can't wait for listeners to learn from your story today. All right, let's get into our conversation with Nicole. I want to extend a special welcome to my dear friend, Nicole Johnson. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today, Nicole.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me on, Caroline. I really appreciate it.
I want to fill everyone in that I have been online friends with Nicole for over a year now. And I actually was a guest on her podcast a while back, Found Down, right, Nicole?
That's right.
Honestly, it's so cool to make online connections with people all over the world that have similar passions as your own. And I really feel that way with you, Nicole. I mean, you're in Seattle, correct? And I'm here in Connecticut. I mean, we couldn't be farther apart, but I'm really excited to have you today. Before we dive into like the really fun stuff with all of your retreats, I want you, if you don't mind, to share what your life after nursing school looked like and how you got to this point in your career. I know it's a big question.
It's such a great question. And the reason it excites me because probably many of you know there's so many opportunities and possibilities, and you can make nursing your own thing. And actually, I'm going to sidetrack just a minute and say there was something that I think you said on social media, Caroline, about life's too short to be basically in a bad nursing job, or it's like there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
So, but when I started, I was a new grad nurse who going into nursing was my second degree, and I went straight into the ICU. There are people out there, they're like, new grads can't go into the ICU. Yes, you can. Depending on which corner of the internet you live on, people debate about this all the time. So I started out as a new grad nurse and I loved it. I felt like I had my dream job. Like I couldn't believe I was in the environment that I was in, like being around really sick people and helping them and being with such a cool collaborative team. I was just in awe. And it was tough. It was a tough transition for me to do 12-hour shifts and just learning what the demands of being a nurse is really like. But I was so excited. I thought I was going to take every opportunity that came my way. Opportunities would come up all the time on my unit. Like, do you want to learn about wounds and how to improve skin and pressure ulcer prevention? I was like, yeah, totally. And eventually I started adding more skills and I became a rapid response nurse. And anyway, I just had all these things and opportunities presented to me and I was just going to take them. I was like hungry for the experience. It's so fun. And then after 5 years, I became a assistant nurse manager for a very busy ICU. And I loved that. I got to onboard and hire and train so many new nurses. I was their mentor. I instilled a lot of confidence. So that was a really fun time. However, we would always have like three cohorts a year. And after a while, I just got burnt out with like the
Mhm.
planning and the prep and all of it. And then when I got really burnt out, I was like, what am I going to do next? And I was in my early 40s. And that's when I hired a life coach because I was like, I felt really stuck. I didn't want to leave. I felt really tied to my nursing leadership. But I didn't want to become a manager. No, nothing against nurse managers. They get a bad rap. They get a very bad rap, but it was not for me. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I decided I wanted to start a business, but that ended up being where Unwound Retreats. But I went, so in like 2018, I stepped down from a leadership position and just went back to working bedside, which I was still working bedside while I was a assistant nurse manager, but I essentially stepped down on my same unit. There was a lot of like, whoa, I can't believe she did that. But it was received really well. And it was like, I didn't realize when I went back to bedside and didn't have the leadership position, I didn't realize how much I was carrying as a mental load all the time. So it was very freeing for me. So you were in management, you were assistant nurse manager too, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And the assistant nurse manager was kind of the sweet spot in management because like it didn't all fall on your shoulders. Like you had the manager that you were like, well, this one's, this is a big issue and this is not my pay grade. Here you go. But like you said, the mental load, it's almost like being a mom. Like I'm always having this to-do list in my head of like, oh, laundry. Okay, got to get this kid to practice. Isn't that same thing in management, right? You're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
inventory for this is down. Oh, wait, staffing. Wait, didn't so and so call out? You have this constant
Mm-hmm.
like chatter going on in your head of all the needs and triaging all the issues for your unit that you go home thinking about. You get called in the middle of the night. Management infiltrates your life. So when you say that you went back to bedside, first of all, like kudos to you because I think clearly like you didn't let your ego get in the way of being like, oh, I'm taking a step back. And you recognize that like, wow, I'm going to be able to clock in and then clock out and hopefully not have as much of that like mental load or mental stress, continue on with your day. So I commend you for that because I bet that it was really hard.
That was really one of the toughest decisions that I have actually had to make because
Yes.
I like adored and loved the person that I worked for. Like I have still so much respect for that person now. And I probably like a lot of people, I didn't didn't want to let her down. And maybe you get this idea in your head of like how are they going to survive without me? Which is really like they're gonna be fine.
But there is, and I think it's probably in nursing, us being like somewhat of an empath,
Hmm.
also just really caring about our team, that you think, oh, I'm letting everyone down. This is a failure. But at the same time, like if you can't fill up your own cup, like you're not going to be able to fill up everyone else's cup. And at some
Yeah.
point, you're like, is this job really worth my happiness and everything else in life? So much more than just a job. You mentioned being burnt out in that assistant manager role. What did that look like for you? Like, how did you know you were burnt out?
I was feeling a lot of dread
Mhm.
and anxiety and like I just didn't have the energy behind the
Mhm.
work that I wanted that I was normally excited to do. I just didn't feel like I just was going through the motions with it. So it just didn't feel as authentic. I mean, I still tried
Yeah.
to do a really good job, but maybe it wasn't as my heart wasn't in it. And then I would really take to heart people's like negative comments about work or complaints about work. And I would walk into work and the first thing the people would say wouldn't be like, hi, how are you? Whatever. It would be like, this crazy thing happened last night and I need you to fix it. Or complaints about one thing. And a lot of times they were really valid, but I felt like to walk into negativity was hard for me to swallow. And my skin wasn't thick enough to just be like, oh, it's just work.
I can
So,
literally relate to so much of what you just said because there is no hi, how are you? Welcome to work. Glad to see you. It's like the minute you walk in, it's you're triaging issues that happened. The expectation is that you're supposed to fix them. And we know
mhm.
healthcare, like a lot of things are not fixable. And
Right.
a lot of putting out fires to the best of your ability, but you can't even confidently say that fire is not going to start again.
And honestly, your leadership and on your unit, like your assistant nurse managers, even your managers, they don't even have that much control. So
They
much of what
don't. Middle management sucks because you literally are like stuck between what the staff really need and what are the priorities for them. And then you have upper leadership who have never walked a day in your shoes telling you what
Mhm.
actually is priority. And you're like, well, that doesn't even make sense. That shouldn't even be your top five priority list doesn't even match the top five of the staff. So this doesn't even make any sense.
It was really eye-opening for me. Sounds like it was for you.
Oh, totally. It was totally eye-opening. So wait, how did that transform into Unwound Retreats?
I got really restless in my burnout period and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was feeling called to start a business. I wanted to help people. I wanted travel to be some component of it. I actually went outside of nursing for a while to kind of see what I could do in the travel space. And then I ended up coming back to nursing because I felt like, and this was in 2019 when pre-pandemic, burnout was all the rage. I don't know if you remember that. Everyone was talking about burnout at that point, and I was frustrated with what was offered to nurses. So nurses were really the all that was offered was like take a class about burnout, learn how to be not
I'm
burnt out.
surprised I've never even been offered a class of burnout. I have been offered come down and have like a hand massage in the lobby during Nurses Week and practice like deep breathing and meditation on your own time, but like no
hmm
actual education around it. And also at that point, I think the staff were so burnt out that like that wasn't enough.
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, why can't we just offer time for people to come together and practice these modalities? And wouldn't it be more meaningful to, and I had been to some like day retreats and really enjoyed them. I liked that container of showing up and being, offered some modalities and practicing, different ways, different restorative practices, and then like leaving. And at the day, it was really nice. And I was like, man, I really want to create something like that. And maybe I could create retreats and for nurses and I could offer continuing education and then it could be like reimbursed by their hospital and then they could go on a retreat to Mexico and or I mean the first vision was Morocco, which is kind of crazy that was my first retreat and that I made it happen. But like
Wait, I want to talk about, okay, I want to talk about your first retreat and or even your first few. What have you changed or learned about, like having those first few retreats with nurses where you like, okay, Morocco was too far or okay, no, the time or like did you learn
it
little things from each one that changed how you do it now?
Yeah, so the one like Morocco I did a few times and I always co-hosted with a friend of mine, which was lovely to have a co-host. I did Mexico retreat on my own. That one I've done my own this whole time. That one I learned a lot from. I learned that I needed to have structure, more structure. The first one, those nurses just got wasted. What I realized is I needed to have a little more boundaries around alcohol and boundaries around discussion times because I think I was really worried about people re-traumatizing themselves. And granted, this was like, I think the first one was maybe in like 2022. So pretty close after the pandemic and in it. And people had a lot of stuff that they want to talk about. I learned that I needed to have a little better boundary setting, and that has helped. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then as far as like structured activities, I've changed like what I have and what's offered. It's different from a vacation, having structured discussion times around things that are related to work, I think is helpful for people to have meaning and come away with
Yeah.
meaning from these retreats rather than just like being, I had a conversation over here, or I had a conversation over here.
Sounds almost like a mix of like holistic stuff with
Mm,
like almost like therapy, like group discussions. And who better to talk about these things than other people who have gone through it and can
hmm
relate? Because I know many of us, we probably have nurse friends or someone in healthcare that, yeah, we can vent to, but to really spend some time in almost a safe space to talk about these things, yes, they're heavy, but after you get through the heavy stuff, you feel so much lighter. At least
That's
I.
true. I back to your question about what I've learned that like the larger the group, like the less, as you could imagine, I think, the
Yeah.
less intimate it is or the less personal it is.
Yes, people are probably a little less vulnerable, like they won't be as vulnerable, right? Like
Yeah.
I would share things in a small group. Sharing
Yeah.
in a larger group's a little more intimidating.
hmm
So that makes sense. Like you get a smaller group, you get to know each other a little bit more. I've always loved smaller get-togethers over bigger get-togethers, just
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
And then having it like mixed gen
Mm.
was interesting. Like when I did two retreats that were larger and that were co-ed, yeah, sort of, I'm just gonna say it, the women just didn't want to share as much because of the men.
The dynamics change.
Yeah.
Yeah, women are usually more willing to share emotional things. At least I don't know,
hmm
that could be a stereotype of my own, but
Yeah.
to talk, we like to chat.
hmm
Yeah, right. But
Yeah.
I feel safer many times amongst women sharing certain things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that makes sense. Now, how many retreats have you done so far?
Nine. And then I've done probably, I don't know, probably 24. I don't even know. So tons of like little events in the Seattle area, like just yoga, sort of
That.
like mini retreats or yoga in the park or yoga on my roof or like drinks at I've done a lot of like community events. That's what I call my smaller activities. And I actually have a spa night coming up.
Yes, I saw
Um,
that. And I was like, why do I have to live on the other side of the country?
I'm so excited for that. But that one will be my first foray into like everybody. That's going to be open to anybody.
Oh, nice, not just nurses.
And you know what I like to think about my retreats as I like to think about it as an offering to help nurses take care of themselves. I like to have nurses just know they can show up and have everything taken care of. As you know, lots of nurses are moms, have
Yeah.
tons of other things going on. Wouldn't it be nice to just like don't have to worry about it? You get picked up from the airport, you have a private chef, you can participate or not participate, you can nap, you can not, whatever. And
No.
I love it if hospitals would just funnel their nurses into my retreats because they're so restorative.
Let's talk about your upcoming retreat. So you have a retreat November 9th to the 13th.
Hmm.
So exciting in Sayulita, Mexico.
Yep.
You've done this location and everything before.
Yeah. This will be the fifth time I'll
Amazing.
be,
Okay,
yeah.
what does the itinerary look like? You don't have to tell me every single thing every single day, but like what are some of the activities?
Okay, so your typical day is like wake up, get coffee, yoga on the roof, come down, and then have breakfast by a chef, a private chef who's like my Mexican auntie. And then we do like 2 or 3 hours of continuing ed. Then the afternoon is free and you can do whatever, relax, go to the beach, have spa activities, have a masseuse come to the house, give you a massage. And then there'll be like an evening program of dinner or whatnot. Sometimes maybe dinner plus or minus CEs. But yeah, it's the day. I try to have most of the afternoons free. It's
Yeah.
5 days, 4 nights.
Love that you have downtime because I do feel like sometimes there's these things like, when you go to a conference where every minute is filled and you're like, okay, and then you leave tired. Sounds like you're just hearing the things that you offer. It sounds like such a nice way to recharge. You've got like light activity in there if you want. It sounds like you do some stuff that's a little bit of adventure, being in
hmm
Mexico. You're not worried about making any meals because you have a private chef. And then you're also learning. You're getting a little bit of that CE stuff in there, which is good because you're learning probably ways to take care of yourself. And what I really want to emphasize here is that, guys, hospitals usually have a certain amount of money for each staff member to continue their education. And basically, at least I know from my experience in the hospitals I worked at, I pay up front for my CEs and then I bring my certificate, my CE certificate, and then my receipt of payment to my HR department or education department, depending on your hospital, and they will reimburse you up to a certain amount. I wish I knew about this as a staff nurse because I would have been on all kinds of fun trips. Okay. I would have
hmm
definitely used this as a discount to travel and also get the CEs that you're required to get every year instead of just going to a boring in service. Something that's actually fun and recharging and refueling. I just feel like people don't know about
Hmm.
it. So I wanted to
Yeah.
like make a clear plug right here for that because I wish I knew that when I was first starting out as a nurse.
You can earn CEs on my retreat and get your hospital to reimburse you. I only offer 8 hours of CEs, and that's because I don't want it to feel like you're stuck in a classroom in
Yeah.
Mexico listening to me talk. You'd be like, come on, shut up, Nicole. Let's get to the beach. About 6 of the hours are burnout stress reduction, and you get to do and practice a lot of those. So it's kind of like a workshop. You do a
Sure.
lot of self-assessment, reflection, journaling, whatever. And then I have a local guy in the community who comes, he talks about Mexican culture and sort of the health implications of working with Mexicans. And then also we do an hour medical Spanish class. I want it to be a little bit immersive, it's not just like a vacation. It's like think about the people that you're around and the culture. And so if you can bring some of that back, it's important to me.
I think it's nice that you incorporate a lot of different things in a retreat. It's not education intensive, yet you are going to walk away 8 credits or whatever. That's really helpful. And I also love that a lot of your CEs are like building resilience and avoiding burnout and things that can help you. Because I do feel like we're always learning more to help patients and help other
Hmm.
people. But what about us, right? Nice to have these CEs that are literally geared to helping yourself.
And you're not taught them in nursing school, all you nurses out there. I'm sure you know that. You're not taught it while you're on the job either.
It makes it really tough. But that's where your retreat comes in.
Yeah.
I feel like these hospitals should definitely, I don't know, start utilizing like different avenues like this.
Yeah. Kaiser nurses out there, if you can believe it, get like $3,000 a year.
What?
Yep. So I've had Kaiser nurses come to my retreats and get the whole thing paid for.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, Nicole, that's amazing. Where I've worked, it's only ever been like a couple $100s.
Me
They
too.
will pay for education. Like if you go back to school, I think it's like 3,500 a year for like, your master's or your BSN.
Yeah.
But from like CE standpoint, it's usually a couple hundred.
Mhm.
That's a nice dent in, a trip. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so now how many people go on your Mexico retreat?
So these are small group retreats,
Yeah.
so 8 or 9 max.
Do you
So
allow friends to go? If someone's like, Nicole, I have a friend and we're both nurses,
yeah.
you're good with that.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. I love the smaller. I think that's a great way to do things. What would you say are common reasons people say they can't attend your retreat?
Cost. The thing is, like, there is a cost to it, and it's not even that exorbitant if you think about it. Like, it's 4 nights at a luxury accommodations, private chef, ground transportation, golf cart, paddleboarding, CEs for 17.99, which I often offer discount codes, That's like 5 days, 4 nights for most meals, room and board, activities, learning education credits. It's actually a real steal. I think people don't realize it until they get there. Perhaps it's the retreat thing, because I think that could feel overwhelming. Like, whoa, what is a retreat? Like, does that mean I have to get all into my feelings? Retreat's about getting outside of your normal life, giving you an opportunity to practice some like really nice wellness things. I don't practice yoga like every morning, but when I'm in Mexico and I have this program, we get up every morning, we do yoga.
That's amazing. I
That's
love
nice.
that.
It's like we meditate. We practice these things that like make us feel better. And the food's really good and healthy. And so it's like, oh, you can kind of be a different way for a little bit. That feels,
It's kind of like a reset.
yeah, exactly.
You can explore some of those things and then bring maybe something home with you, right? What about people coming alone? Do you ever have people? Because obviously, I'm sure most of your people don't come with a friend.
I've had groups of entirety, like everyone's come alone, which has been really special. They're coming because they know there's like-minded folks with a common shared
Yeah.
experience.
Now, I don't know if you can recall this. It sounds like you've had a ton of retreats, so it might be too hard of a question to ask you. But for listeners that are like struggling with burnout or feeling like disconnected to maybe their profession, what are some of the most like meaningful transformations that you've seen happen on your retreat? Or like have people been like, wow, this was like an aha moment for me, or this changed the trajectory of like my career? Because I know when I was feeling so burnt out, all I could think about doing was like quitting my role in management. Where, man, I do wish like I had other avenues of self-care and really knew more about what that looked like. And maybe having attended something like a retreat like this could have given me some of those tools to maybe not quit if I didn't necessarily have to. I mean, granted, I'm happy with all of my decisions. So I don't know, is there anyone that like comes to mind for you that's been on your retreat that had a really great transformation or moment or something that you can share?
I think there have been quite a few people who have decided to give themselves permission to prioritize themselves and do a better job of like taking their breaks at work or learning about boundary setting or learning that they should probably see a counselor. Or, I had one person who decided to really prioritize themselves. They had some personal stuff come up and they went on leave and then went back part-time. And I think she attributes it to part of the retreat, like learning how to take care of herself first, which is really hard because a lot of us are hardwired as women to take care of everybody else first. And especially if you're a mom and you're a nurse, that makes it extra hard because your
Yeah.
priorities come last. Yeah, I think just like learning that it's okay to prioritize yourself. It's okay to to do things for yourself. It's not selfish.
I could see your retreat being almost like an intervention for yourself. Like you get to this retreat, all of a sudden you're diving into all about you, taking care of yourself from a wellness
Hmm.
perspective. And then you're really realizing, like, wait, like I do have to prioritize myself. This feels good. I feel good. Things feel good, you know? And if we go back to our same rigmarole of life after the retreat,
Hmm.
we're going to end up right back where we were. But if
Yeah.
we can use this as sort of a pivot in our career and even our mindset and our like shift of our priorities, I do think that would be just so incredibly powerful. The desire to change or to put yourself first and implement these things in your life can only come from you. No one can
Hmm.
force them on you. But
Yeah.
I could see this being so incredibly powerful, like especially for the right person. Now, when
Yeah.
you're screening the people that travel with you and like
Hmm.
come on your trips, are you looking for something certain?
Well, I just think I try to make sure that they're coming in with an open mind.
Okay.
It's not psychotherapy. I'm not a
Uh,
therapist, right? I'm a nurse. I have some extra training that I've
yeah.
done, but yeah, mostly coming in with an open mind. And I think people sort of self-select,
Mm.
they're like, I don't think the people who would go to Morocco would be super close-minded.
No, I agree. I think you have to be pretty open-minded to go on a retreat with a bunch of people you don't know. That's like when we're out of our comfort zone, that's literally when we grow the most. So I feel like those are like probably such special people to really be like,
Yes.
wow, I found my people.
Which actually, this brings me to a really important point, and that is the reason I have these in different locations, like outside of the United States, is because when you travel, you get outside of your comfort zone, you get away from your normal life, and in a retreat that's very different from normal life, you can have time to think about how's it going for me. I think that's like the self-introspection sort of naturally happens on a retreat. I'm
Sure.
not coming in there being like, I'm going to change your life. But like I think that naturally happens when you're in a place where you're like, huh, let me think about my life. Let me think about work. Let me
Yeah.
think about what's working for me, what's not working for me. What would I like to do different? Ooh, I like this yoga thing. I like this meditation thing. Like I like journaling or I like whatever it is. And or I like travel. Like I've seen someone who was like an avid traveler, stopped traveling for a while, and she got so invigorated by going on the retreat in Morocco because she hadn't traveled for a while. And yeah, it was a really, really positive experience for her. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I can understand that so much. And I think when we are able to get like basically mute our life distractions, our day-to-day distractions, and also if we're able to take ourselves out of our normal day-to-day routine, where sometimes I think we start moving through it just like motion after motion, not really stopping to check in with ourselves. I feel like then when we can pause and mute everything and we can actually like listen to our thoughts, it is so incredibly enlightening. And it sounds so easy to do. Check in with yourself, but like on a day-to-day basis, with all of the noise in our life,
Hmm.
it is so hard to do that. And I do think leaving the country is a cool aspect because a lot of times you have limited like service with people, right? And you can really mute the noise if you want to. And I also think travel, I've never looked at it as a way to grow, which is really silly. I don't know why I've never really looked at it. I've always looked at it as like, oh, a treat, something fun and entertaining. But there's a lot of growth that happens. Now, like a few months ago, I took the train in. So I'm in Connecticut. I took the train into New York City, which again doesn't sound like much, but I did it all by myself, navigated New York City to get to the Peloton studios to ride, a Peloton workout. And I have never done that without my husband. Like I've never, like he's a big traveler and I am like a passenger princess and I really love to be a passenger princess. I really wanted to challenge myself to like figuring it out on my own. And it was great. I loved it. I literally left that, and it was a day trip. Like, again, train in, like, I didn't have to get in an airport or anything. But I just felt like when I got home, like, wow, I can do hard things. I can figure things out. Don't actually need to rely on anyone, really, for anything. Of course, I love my husband and it's fun to be a passenger princess, but I just felt like I grew so much in that one day activity from traveling.
Yeah, you figured it out all on your own. You
Yeah.
like made it happen.
I did. And I loved it. I think I was smiling ear to ear the whole time in New York City. Who is this weirdo? It's not my first time in the city. We go a few times a
Hmm.
year, but the subway station, the like all the different roads. I mean, there's people talking to you. I mean, it's a lot. So
Yeah.
I really think it should be looked at more as like a growth experience, not just for entertainment or, leisure or whatever.
Yeah, and you learn, like, especially in another country, you learn a lot about other cultures, other
So true.
people, like how is a different part of the world doing things, you know? Is it better than where we are? It's
Yeah.
my jam.
You come home and you appreciate certain things we do.
Yeah.
I know me and my husband went to Japan. Feels like forever ago now. I don't know, probably like, I think it was like 10 years ago now. And we went to Tokyo and we went to Niseko for skiing. And that was the most eye-opening trip I've ever gone on. And I would love to go back. And I never really wanted to go to Japan, but we had a friend that moved there for work. And we were like, wow, he can show us around. We're never going to have this opportunity again.
Hmm.
And it was so incredibly enlightening to see how their society functions. And, walking the streets of Tokyo, I swear you could eat off the ground. It was so clean. And then we come back and it's like the streets of New York City are so gross, and I think there's certain things that you're like, wow. But then yet some of their toilets, public toilets are disgusting. You're like squatting over a hole. I mean, there are things that you learn. There's things that you appreciate. There's some, of course, sometimes things we wish we did differently here. It was so awesome. And I feel like I have a new appreciation for that culture in general.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
So when it personally touches you, you're like, okay,
Hmm.
like it's left an impact on me. That makes sense. Now, we'll start to wrap things up because I know I'm a yapper, but what's next, do you think, for you and your business? Like, what do you see the rest of this year looking like, next year?
I'm gonna start doing group trips,
Okay,
sort of see if I can expand my
sure.
clientele, but while still having things for nurses. That's really it. In 2026, probably a retreat in Mexico, a retreat in Turkey. So that was postponed this year, but that'll be hopefully on the books for 2026. And then maybe a group trip for everybody. It's not just nurses. So that's kind
Love
of
that.
what I'm looking at. I would like to publish a book. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And you're in a new role right now, right?
Yeah. So I technically have three jobs. I have a lot of flexibility and variety in my life. So I have my own business. I work at a place called the Transfer Center. Essentially, I help get people into our healthcare system at the hospital system that I work into. So that's like trauma patients. Anyway, very specialized care. So that's really interesting work. So I do that part-time, and that's like hybrid work, remote position. And then I work part-time for this nurse, Nicole Kupchik, who's actually kind of a nurse celebrity. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I do like some editing and I just help with some of her content, her
I
critical care
love
stuff.
that.
Yeah, so variety.
Yeah, and that's a great person to learn from. Okay, I love that. And I'm sure, you're going to continue going places. And I'm going to be here obviously cheering you along the way. But before I ask you the final question of the show, where can everyone find you? And I also think you might have a discount code if anyone's interested in attending your trip in November.
Yeah. Okay. So you can find me at unwoundretreats.com, NicoleJohnson.rn on TikTok and Instagram, Unwound Retreats for Nurses on Instagram, a few places. But if you want to go to my website, it's unwoundretreats.com. If you want to attend my Mexico retreat, I would love to have you, especially if you're newer to nursing, because you should learn some of this stuff before
Yes.
before
You end
before
up
you
like
get too
us.
seasoned. Yeah. So if you want to go, you can put in the coupon code new grad nurse, all caps, one word, and get $200 off, which is a pretty good deal for this next retreat. So
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with my listeners. I think that's so exciting. Now, my last question for you, Nicole. If you could go back in time and tell new grad nurse Nicole one thing about life after
mm,
nursing school, what would it be?
stop comparing yourself to these seasoned nurses with 10, 15, 20, 25 years of experience. You're going to get there. If you keep showing up, you're going to learn.
Yes.
It's going to get better. So in order
Yes.
to get better and feel more confident at your job, you have to keep showing up.
I
And
love
then
that.
just trust the process, really,
I was just saying that. Trust the
like,
process.
the little vision of like your understanding and comprehension of what you understand, like that whole, it just grows and grows and grows and grows. At 6 months, you're like, wow. At 9 months, wow. 2 years, like, whoa, I can handle anything. And then anyway, so just, you're gonna rock it. It'll all work out.
I love that. Well, Nicole, it's been such a pleasure having you as a guest on the Life After Nursing School podcast. You're doing amazing things in the nursing profession, and I know you're going to continue to do great things moving forward and probably all over the world. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today, helping nurses find connection and community with Unwound Retreats.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Life After Nursing School. I hope you feel more confident and ready to tackle the challenges that come with starting your nursing career. Remember, the first year or two might not be easy, but with the right mindset, you can overcome anything. If you found value in today's episode, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a future episode. Also, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps so much in reaching other new nurses like you. Thanks for listening, and remember, you've got this. Take care and see you next time.